Welcome to this session on nominations. The slides in this presentation cover information in relation to the key contacts, the election timetable, and relevant information up to the nomination period for candidates and agents for the Argyll and Bute constituency at the Scottish Parliament constituency elections. There will be a further session held for candidates and agents after the nomination period ends. In this session, we'll look at roles and responsibilities, the election timetable, qualifications to stand as a candidate, disqualifications from standing as a candidate, nominations, and election agents. The constituency returning officer is Pippa Milne, the Chief Executive of Argyll and Bute Council, and she is responsible for the constituency election and the management of polling stations in that constituency. The regional returning officer is Derek Brown, the Chief Executive of Highland Council, and he is responsible for the regional election and the allocation of regional seats. The Electoral Registration Office, or ERO, is Dunbartonshire and Argyll and Bute Joint Valuation Board, and they are responsible for maintaining the register of electors and absent voters lists. Here is the election timetable. The Electoral Management Board for Scotland have specified in their directions that the notices of election should be published on Monday 16 March 2026. That will see the nomination period commencing on Tuesday 17 March and concluding at 4 p.m. on Wednesday 1st April. In terms of things to highlight in relation to the election timetable, while there are a number of deadlines and issues set out there, I would advise that the deadline for new postal vote applications or to make changes to existing postal or proxy votes has reverted to 5 p.m. on 21 April. After 21 April, the only option to voters who cannot attend at a polling station is to register for a proxy vote. The deadline for ordinary proxy votes is 5 p.m. on Tuesday 28 April. Thereafter, emergency proxy applications can be made, and those applications must be made by 5 p.m. on polling day. Emergency proxies are available on a number of grounds, which include disability, illness or medical conditions, reasons of work, being detained in hospital in certain circumstances, and if you are a Scottish prisoner serving a sentence of 12 months or less. For the purpose of these elections, there is no requirement in law for a candidate to be a registered elector in Scotland. You must be at least 18 and also be either a British citizen, an eligible Commonwealth citizen, or a qualifying foreign national. An eligible Commonwealth citizen is a Commonwealth citizen who either does not need leave to enter or remain in the UK or has indefinite leave to remain in the UK. An eligible qualifying foreign national is a person who is not a Commonwealth citizen or a citizen of the Republic of Ireland and has, or is to be treated as having, any description of such leave. There are a number of disqualifications to being a candidate, and these are set out in this slide and the following slide. This list is not comprehensive. Candidates should read, "What do I need to know before I stand as a candidate?" in the Electoral Commission's guidance for candidates and agents. That will provide further information on disqualifications. If candidates are in any doubt about whether they are disqualified, they must do everything they can to check that they are not so disqualified before submitting their nomination papers. Candidates must be sure that they are not disqualified, as they will be asked to sign one of the required nomination papers to confirm that that is the case. It is a criminal offence to make a false statement on nomination papers as to the qualification for being elected. So if candidates have any doubt, they should contact their employer, consult the legislation, or if necessary, take their own independent legal advice. The returning officer will not be able to confirm whether or not candidates are disqualified. It is for candidates to satisfy themselves that they are qualified prior to lodging their nomination. It is possible to be a dual candidate in this election. You can be a candidate for both a constituency and a region, but the constituency must be within the region. You must stand for the same party in both contests, or be an independent in both contests. And you cannot stand in more than one constituency or in more than one region. Nomination guidance and forms can be found on the Electoral Commission's website and our candidate and agent webpage for these elections. Nomination papers must be submitted by hand to the constituency returning officer at Kilmorey, Lochilbert, Argyll, and the address is shown on this slide. The deadline to submit nomination papers is 4 p.m. on Wednesday, 1st April 2026. It is for candidates or agents to make sure nomination papers are completed correctly. You should take time to complete the papers using the Commission's guidance and, where possible, arrange for an informal check by the staff of the constituency returning officer. The constituency returning officer has put arrangements in place for these informal checks and considerations for the delivery of nomination papers. To request an informal check, please submit the papers via the elections email address shown on the slide. You'll be provided with a link to book an appointment to attend and submit your nomination, and this will be more convenient to candidates and agents to ensure availability of staff to see you immediately on arrival. This slide sets out the detail that must be contained within a nomination. I confirm that the rules have changed on commonly used names. This doesn't have to be different to the actual name. For candidates standing on behalf of a political party, the name can be preceded by the word Scottish, if it is not already part of the registered name. If the party name begins with the word the, then the word Scottish can be inserted after that word. Independent candidates may use the word independent in the description field. If no description is included either for a party candidate or an independent candidate, then there will be no information on the ballot paper or official notices. This is usually the most common omission when completing nomination papers. Nomination guidance and forms can be found on the Electoral Commission's website, as well as information on who and how the nomination papers must be submitted. While anyone can deliver a nomination paper on behalf of a candidate, candidates and/or their agents may wish to attend. If not, you may wish to ensure someone you trust delivers the nomination papers so they can be sure they are delivered in time. By prior arrangement, the constituency returning officer will accept a deposit made by bank transfer. To make the request to pay by bank transfer, please email the election office directly at the email address set out in the slide. They will provide you with bank details and a reference number to quote with your payment. Deposits will be returned by cheque. Candidates who poll more than 5% and attendance at the count will be handed a cheque by the constituency returning officer. If there are no representatives at the count when the results are declared, the cheque will be posted to the specified return address no later than Monday, 11th May 2026. It's helpful then to have an address providing details for the return of the deposit. The candidate requires to sign the form consenting to nomination. This form requires to be witnessed. It is important that the witness should see the candidate sign the form. The form ensures the candidate is consenting to the nomination in the presence of that witness. I can advise that there are no restrictions on who can be a witness to the consent to nomination form. I would also highlight that candidates must not sign the form if they are not qualified to stand. Please refer to the Electoral Commission's guidance for candidates and agents if in any doubt. In addition to the witness consent to nominate form, nomination forms must also contain the candidate's name and address and date of birth. For political party candidates, the party's name must be registered with the Electoral Commission. As I've previously mentioned, the word Scottish can be added for these elections if that is not part of the registered party name. The certificate of authorisation must be signed by the registered nominating officer of the political party, or by someone appointed in writing by the nominating officer to act on their behalf. If the nominating officer has appointed someone else to exercise this function on their behalf, a copy of the appointment in writing must be delivered to the constituency returning officer. If the certificate of authorisation states a particular description for the party name to be used, then that must be used by the candidate. If the certificate allows the candidate to choose, they must choose either the party name or a description registered with the Electoral Commission. Party names and descriptions are on the Commission's website and must match exactly. Joint candidates must have a certificate of authorisation from each of the registered parties. It is for the candidate to decide the order in which the party names appear in a joint description. Party candidates standing on behalf of two or more registered parties jointly can use an emblem that has been registered by one of the relevant parties. Requests must be made in writing and received by 4 p.m. on Wednesday, the 1st of April. There is a form provided in the nomination pack for this purpose. Election agents are responsible for the proper management of the campaign and particularly its financial management. It is useful if a contact telephone number and email address is provided for the election agent when attending to lodge nominations so that the constituency returning officer can contact them easily. I would highlight that agents, including a candidate acting as their own agent, can be replaced at any time. Notification of appointment of agents forms will be available within the nomination pack. And if the constituency returning officer is not notified of the name and address of the election agent by the deadline for withdrawals, or after an agent appointment has been revoked, the candidate will automatically become their own election agent. Election agents must have a physical office address for delivery of legal notices, and this cannot be a PO box. If a candidate is acting as their own agent, the office address is deemed to be the address provided on the nomination form. Sub-agents can do anything that the election agent is entitled to do within the area to which the sub-agent is appointed. Sub-agents must also have an office address that is not a PO box, and the appointment of a sub-agent may also include a request that a correspondence address is published on notice of sub-agent rather than the sub-agent's home address. Election agents may revoke the appointment of a sub-agent at any time, and another sub-agent may be appointed. The election agent must declare in writing the name, address, and area of appointment of the new sub-agent to the constituency returning officer. The deadline to appoint sub-agents is Tuesday, the 5th of May. Postal vote agents are able to attend the opening of postal votes. Notice must be given before the opening session commences. Dates of sessions will be provided within the information for candidates, agents after the close of poll. To assist candidates, notification of appointment of agents forms will be provided within the nomination pack. I'd highlight that the Electoral Commission have put together video guidance to assist candidates and agents to complete nominations for these elections. These are really useful guides, and I would encourage you to watch these. I'm setting out in this slide the contact information in respect of the constituency returning officer, the regional returning officer, the electoral registration office, and the Electoral Commission. Thank you, and I hope that was useful.